Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Welcome back to SimSeniors and welcome to the show. Apologies, I think I had my mic muted there for a split second. But that one is me. A little bit of a hiccup there, but it's good to be back. Either way, it's going to be a good race tonight. The season is now officially underway. We had a great first round, and it was certainly quite the event to see. Of course, check out the YouTube channel after this if you want to catch up with round one, see how the season has been set in motion, and that is going to be where we currently stand. But heading into tonight's race, it is going to be none other than Laguna Seca. So, love it or hate it. I know that some in the audience definitely fall into the latter category, but I do think that we could still see some entertaining racing. The truth is, it has been a favourite of mine. Even if the track isn't necessarily the fun side of things to drive on, it still is a interesting track. It's a visually interesting track. It's going to be a fun track to watch from us watching at home. It's an interesting perspective, it's a new perspective, and it's going to be a good one for our side of things. Taking a quick look at, of course, the drivers who are joining us. Once again, we have our trusty Spotter's Guide, and you can see a lot of the different characters that are going to be joining us on track. For instance, you have a dual fight at the top of the championship on the gold class, as we've got on screen here. It's going to be between Peter Wolfslener and David Lienblom. Both have 40 points, which is quite interesting, I gotta say. It's a bit of a change up, and you don't really see people tying on points at this stage, but we have a joint first with those two very strong drivers, absolute powerhouses within the scene, followed closely by Jimmy Engdahl, just a couple of points away, also in the Nismo. Taking a quick look at the silver side of things in the grey driver numbers, we have Damian Reed in the Lexus being our leader out of all of this, say 40 points to their name, with Ostrachas in the BMW M4. 38 points. 36 is going to go to Patrick Larson in the Ferrari, and looking like an absolute weapon to boot. Finally, you have the bronze cars, and Alex North in the Vantage is getting his time in the sun. He's managed to get himself top points, and is looking pretty good doing it, as he's stuck to his guns with the classic West McLaren style livery. Bruce Hopkins is going to be in your second spot, just a single point away, also in the V8 Vantage, with Glenn Parkinson in the McLaren 720S. So this is going to be a pretty interesting race, all in all. And of course, if you don't know how it works here at SimSeniors, is we have ourselves a 5-minute practice session, which we are just concluding now. That's more of a tech test. Make sure everyone has a stable connection to the server. Make sure that everyone is rigged up with their cars fully ready to go. And then from there, we will have a 15-minute qualifying session, followed by a 60-minute race. That 60-minute race has got a mandatory pit stop, but we will discuss that a little bit more when the time comes to it. It's going to be a fun one here, and it's certainly a session that I have been looking forward to for a good while. The racers have got their work cut out for them, but as we get things set and ready to go, let's take an actual look trackside and see what we're dealing with. Of course, very much one of the most vertical, it's up there with Mount Panorama, one of the most vertical tracks on our calendar. And it's one of the tracks that is divisive. Coming out of Barcelona last time out, it is definitely a change of pace. But we will see ourselves heading round here and showing our drivers what it means to tackle around here. So this will be good fun on the whole. And this is where we, of course, pass it to you watching at home. First off, thank you to everyone who joins us for these rounds. And what we can see is that drivers are just getting themselves finalized and ready to go. But let us know in the live chat who you are keeping your eye on, who you've got your heart set on as we get into qualifying in just a moment here. It's going to be a great session out there tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing if some of the drivers from Season 7 are going to continue a dominant streak, or if they are going to see about having a challenge on their hands. You've got a few different faces who are joining us who didn't quite get to join us last time. We'll discuss them in due course. But here we go. Now it is going to be a qualifying session. You can hear it in the background. And qualifying is go, go, go. Track is hot for 15 minutes as everyone is going to be jumping out here and getting themselves ready for a run. See, everyone's just going to be filing themselves as quick as they can onto that course. First out of the gate is going to be a familiar face. In the Audi, Leonardus tends to be an early quali. He always tends to jump out and get that lap done while he can. Just get something on the books, get something in the pocket, and that is a lot of the time what is needed. So we will see how the drivers fare. I'll clean this up for the time being, as there hasn't been a time set just yet, but this is going to be a chance for Leonardus to give us a quick tour. Making our way through the second segment of the course now. Of course, everyone knows Laguna Seca for one thing, and it is the corkscrew. The beautiful overhead shot there. So diving their cars down. Quick undulation. You've got to make sure your suspension is compliant enough to be able to deal with the corkscrew. And then you come out into turn 10 and turn 11 to finish the lap off. But we'll stick with the Audi now, as they are going to be the benchmark. They're going to be the trendsetter. And the car that is going to be chasing us through. So let's jump with here. This is Leonardus starting their run now. Rumble with their front splitter. You can see heading their way in. Very nicely done through the Andretti hairpin. Now into turn 3. Hop on the curb just a little bit, but careful of the sausage curbs, preventing cutting too far into the inside. Got to follow through the car. A little bit of a kick on the rear, but keeping it fairly balanced and keeping it nice and clean. We are making our way now up into turn 6. A little bit of a dip on the apex, so you've got to make sure that you are gripped up and you're not applying a bit too much braking force. Otherwise, you'll load up the nose too much and you will, through the corner, start to lose the back. Into the corkscrew now, darting down, making sure it doesn't scrape. Leonardus with a clean run here to start us off down into turn 9. Oh, encounters a little bit of traffic here. Could get a bit nerve-wracking. Just about keeping out of the way. Bit of the sausage curb. And through to the exit. What's it going to be for the Audi of Leonardus? It is going to be a 1 minute 24.7. Going to be seeing the rest of the field now start to file their way through. Enric Camara, they're going to be making their way up to the line. 23.362 in the Ferrari. So, solid work there. That's going to be another great contender. Next couple of drivers heading through. Frederick Gaimard just got the new fastest, 22.8. This is going to be Ostrachar, second in the silvers and pushing their BMW M4 to the limit. Up to the line, looking fine. P4 here, 23.9. A lot of other cars now making their way through. Robert Homer, one of the bronzes that we've been keeping an eye on over the course of the season. Jumping up into P14 for the time being. And doing so in quick movements. Damien Reed, meanwhile, leader of the silver. Ups to the line into P10. Nicely done indeed. So Gaimard continues to lead some of the field and hold a 22.875. Best time on the board. Dismukes into P25 here. That's going to be a 26.4. So room on the table, but they've got something in the books, and that's the most important thing. Coming up now, Jimmy Engdahl, another solid driver we've been watching on board with. That's going to be P2 for them. Just a half a tenth faster than Oskari Herme, who just got a 23.1 and is really punching with some weight here. Last couple of drivers through with their first runs. It's going to be Matthias Holmberg here. 23.4, now making some improvements. We're going to switch on that personal best delta and start to monitor who is going to be making some improvements. Who's going to be bringing some great drives home. That's going to be Cole Thompson now making their way through. Another Nismo on the track. Johan Larsson just got 22.4. As Guillemard is going to be still ahead by about 0.5 of a second. The pressure is on, however. Racers have certainly got some work to do. Chris Mansell, 23.9, on chance for improvement. On par for a top 10, is going to be a top 10 just about at a 0.475 there for the Audi. Many more drivers are going to be following suit. Oh, Bjorklund just invalidated a little bit too much on the outside there. Otherwise was on track for an excellent qualifying lap. We're checking with Justin Cutler. Again, reminder, they switched out into the Nismo for this season, so they have got a bit of work to do to get that car running under their heel the way they want it. Great racing, however, is set to be had. If this is qualifying, if this is how intense it is, I can't wait for trackside. 22.7 is going to be Justin Cutler's time, and they're going to assert themselves quite nicely into P4 now, as Matthias Holmberg just took the lead for silver with a 22.690. Great work out there from many of the drivers. I'm going to check in with a couple of others, though. Peter Wolfslener. They will be having their work cut out for them as technically the driver in first place. As we don't all see everyone giving it their all on track. We have Lindblom out on track there. Say Wilson, they're going to a P5. Say Alex North as well. They are on the hunt for a spot, but just behind them is Lindblom's Nismo. And Lindblom is having a bit of trouble, it seems. He's got P27. Usually we see them a bit closer to the top end of the firing order. So not quite where he needs to be just yet. Certainly has got to push at this stage. As time is of the essence. Remember, we're already halfway through our qualifying time at this point, ladies and gentlemen. So you can't be resting on your laurels. You still got plenty of time to push, and you still got plenty of work to do. Frederick Guillemard just set the new fastest, 22.160. You've got a couple more cars now making their way through. Grosges into P4. Colin McNair into P6. This is going to be Lindblom making some improvements that they were desperately hunting for with a clean run in the Nismo. Bit of an early wobble. Is it going to be P1? Yes, it is. It's the first 21 of the session. 21.930. That Monster Energy adorned Nissan is going to be at the top of the order. Is there going to be any challenge from some of the others, though? Hermé on board with right now and looking to get some serious improvement if this lap links together. They just need to bring it home now. P15, but very much on the cards is a possible top 10 or even top 5 as this session progresses. Good exit out of the final corner, really making the most of that final corner's curb space. Up to the line. And it looks like a P3. Very good indeed there. I know I'd be happy if I was in his position. I may certainly make good work of that. Grossi has another Bentley on the course. I'll say looking striking. Wolfpack team. And with a black and gold finish. Number 134 is mighty rapid. And has just shown us that. Going into P3 as well. 22.185. Just a quarter of a tenth fast. Or quarter of a tenth slower than Guillemard here. But Lindblom up to the line once again. Going to be iterating on their time even more. It's a 0.722 for them. So only driver, keep in mind, to be in that 121. That's insanely rapid territory. Robert Homer up a couple of positions as they cross the line. Can Bruce Hopkins do the same? 24.575. A good finish here could push them up about 5 positions, if not more. Turn 11, nicely driven. And then up to the line is P26. So almost could say you make a fun little game out of guessing where the drivers are going to be landing and ending up. You got a Hamby, a driver we've known for being in the Huracan, but now has jumped into the Woking outfit, as that McLaren seems to be working quite hard underneath them, staying gripped up. Hamby's doing pretty well to keep it under control. Just got to link it up, bring it to the line. Final corner now. And then to the line, it is P15 in a solid display. Couple more cars now making their way through. We check in with Dave Marsh, driver who does like to make their appearances towards the front of the golds. While not always there, certainly know how to make an entrance. Out the corkscrew, using the Porsche to keep things nice and tightly linked. The number 992 car is peeled off track. That's Eero, only driver who has yet to set a time. 39 cars join us this evening, folks, so quite a stacked grid, if I had to say. See our Marsh across the line. Unfortunately, no improvement here, despite initial projections. A couple of drivers peeling off, abandoning runs. Up to the line, no, Grosges has a chance to get into the 121s. Up to the line, does manage to get it. P2, second driver to get into the 121s with a .857. Mightily impressed. A few more racers, of course, will be starting to push as their final runs draw near. Now, we're not seeing the major jumps in time like we were seeing before. Everyone has started to file into their respective positions, though they have got a crucial chance here to make it work in the nick of time. We got Kamara as well, who is on an improvement. We're sticking on board, though, with Carl Thompson for now. And they are going to jump themselves nicely into P22. Now, Kamara coming up to the line in the Ferrari. Could also be getting into the 122s, which will put them about P12. Yes, P12, 122.832. 7 milliseconds behind Chris Bourne. So the margins are certainly looking fine. Richard Cook in the Mustang. Looking bright-eyed and bushy-tailed with that pink Mustang GT3. And P14 is where they're going to land. The Lindblom has been pushing as well in the background. They got 3 milliseconds within their previous time last run, and they're going to be committing to one more. Larson coming up to the line, and a P4. Very solid running indeed. They have been a driver who consistently punches towards the top of the gold class field. The last couple of drivers making their way through as we speak. A few key racers. As many start to head into the pits, we are in the final 90 seconds, which means drivers have to decide how much they are committing to their current runs. And if they have a chance to go again. If not, then we're going to see a few more RTPs before we land at the end. Go on board with Dave Marsh. He could have a top 10 on the cards. Just needs to link this lap up and bring it home. Even a couple of tenths will slingshot them well within to P8, P7 territory. Coming up to the line, no. Have they been able to bring the lap together like they hope? Yes, they have. P8. Well, Dave Marsh in the Porsche. Our last couple chances here. And a couple of improvements for some, marred by invalidations. We had Anthony Hebert. It was an entire second up, but just couldn't keep it on the track, sadly. Leonardus, though, making their way into P20 with a solid improvement of a couple of tenths. And final runs are going to now be commencing as we are in the final 10 seconds of qualifying. KMR coming up to the line. Will they cross the line in time to go another one? Or is this for all the marbles? Checkered flag has fallen on the session, so anyone who crosses the line from this point is done. KMR with a solid final run, 21.970. That's going to put them P3. Any more going to be making their through. Wolfslener, as they in the white and black with a bit of neon. Bentley. Many drivers now already headed into the pits, committed to their decision. We've got Craig Niesbet in the McLaren, finishing their run up, hoping for a last-moment jump up this order. Good final exit. Could they get themselves out of the 30s, maybe? Is it going to be enough up to the line? It is going to be in 30th place. So not quite there. Wolfslener coming up to the line. P9, P8. Tiny improvement, but it's just enough to jump Marsh post checkered flag. Very nicely done indeed. And now we will see the last couple of cars make their way in. Derek Bird and Chris Mansell just a bit further up ahead. Some racers peeling out to the pit lane. Now Derek across the line. No improvement, unfortunately. Just about a 10th shy. And that is order done. So, looking at our racers and looking at where we stand, it's going to be Lindblom in the top honor spot. 21.560 with a last-minute run of almost perfection. Grosguess is going to be in a close second with GMR in third in the Mustang. So, great showing from many in this field. Looking to silvers, we have Holmberg, who is really punching above their weight class this qualifying session. They've gapped their compatriots in the class by a couple of tenths to be able to take P6 Global and the pole position for Silver Group. Then that's going to be closely followed by Henrik Chiamara in the Ferrari, and then the Richard Cook Pink Mustang. That's going to adorn third place. Carl Thompson is going to be your bronze class leader with a solid time, 23.3. Followed by Bruce Hopkins in the Vantage, and then Alex North, current current leader for the bronze class, in third. But that is where we're going to do it for the qualifying session, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a short break, and then we will discuss what racing is to come. So, short technical break to get the session started, get these drivers started on their outlaps, and then we'll be right back with you. So don't go anywhere. Keep it right here. SimSeniors. It's going to be good fun. Catch you all in a couple of minutes' time. And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. So, we're about to go trackside with our racers for the second round of Season 8. But it's going to be a pretty fun one. We just had a great qualifying session. We've just seen what these drivers are truly capable of behind the wheel. Let us know who you're supporting in that live chat as always. And if you enjoy what we do, be sure to give us a little bit of love. Let us know. Like the stream if you've enjoyed it. Dislike it if you didn't. Tell us what you didn't like. We can make these things better. If you want to get involved as well, we've got our Facebook page as well as our Discord server once that's all said and done, if you want to join the races yourselves. But we are going to go trackside now, folks. We're going to waste zero time. We are going to be having a 60-minute race with a mandatory pit stop, 25 seconds, with fuel and optional tyres available should it be desired. So the race will be a very interesting one. I wonder if we're going to see a little bit of chaos, to be perfectly honest with you. I am a little bit nervous about how these couple of opening laps are set to go. They have got to keep their eyes open. They've got to keep their wits about them, as the field will be tight. Remember, 39 cars joining us here. Here we go, then. They're just all making their way round now. It's a beautiful sunny day at the WeatherTech Raceway. It's a bright and bushy 25 degrees. And it's going to be 33 degrees track surface temp, which is probably going to be the more insane part. It means those tyres are going to be grippy, they're going to be sticky, and they are going to exact the maximum amount of grip you can possibly get, which inversely means that drivers are now going to have a thermal management question mark rather than a grip one. Here we go, rounding the corner. As soon as we get that green flag from race control, green light, go, 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 you hear them. We are off to the races, but the track is hot, figuratively and literally, for the second round of Season 8. Let's see what these drivers are capable of, and we are off immediately. Going to be jumping for the drag race. It's Lindblom, it's Groskes, side by side into the first and second corners. Andretti hairpin, jump on those brakes, get on that power as soon as you can. Already a bit of chaos. You can see that's Alex North in the background. What is going on there? We can barely keep up with it. I'm getting so many incident and yellow flag reports that my system is struggling to keep up. We're going to have to review that after the initial segment, but we're seeing drivers drop down, and oh my lord, what is going on here? We're just coming around to turn 3 and 4, and even more carnage has ensued. I don't even know what to really make of it, ladies and gentlemen, to be honest with you. We see so many drivers getting absolutely demolished in those initial sections. The front of the field has managed to get away, but in all of that, for someone to win, someone has to lose, and we see that in full display, as that is Dave Marsh barely peeling back onto the circuit. A couple more other cars are going to be limping their way around the course, and I do not see any fun times happening with the racers out here. Bit of contact here and there, but we've got quite a interesting first lap that we just saw. We'll see plenty of pits as well, no doubt. Plenty of pit lanes as things went absolutely bombastic. Pretty much. That's going to be 90% of the chaos tonight, I imagine. Apologies, channel will indeed be busy. Oh, there's a little bit of a dip out of the side of the Andretti hairpin for Hermé. Turn 3, and Wolfson is going to be managing to sight their way ahead. More cars, of course, will be fighting up and down the field, but it's almost impossible to keep track of them all at the same time. Wilson on the back of Homer. You've got Kamara on the back of Cook, Bourne, and Cutler on the back of McNair. Holmberg is on to Jimmy Engdahl's tail. Hermes trying to keep a fight to Wolfslenner, and they're all just going at it 110%. Oh, there's a little bit of a wobble there. That is McNair off the side of the track. They're going to be rejoining, just coming out of turn 6. Easy to get caught out by that. Wobble on the curbs there for the Nismo, but keeping it together just about enough to get in line in the corkscrew P11. I think that's a tale that we're going to see pretty often. We're going to have drivers who are trying to push, maybe get a little bit squirrely heading into the corkscrew, and they will set their car off if they're not careful. So the patience is the name of the game. Drivers can wield that situation to their advantage in a lot of cases. Austria is making a move on Björklund, with Gabbert and Hamby in close proximity. Many others now going to be considering their options. Hopefully nobody's got anything lasting. A drag race at the back for P30 here with Donatus and Lisbeth. They've got some serious work to do if they want to catch up to some of these drivers. Let's take a quick look back as well and exactly what happened with the racers. Let's jump aboard with the helicam for the replay, and we can see some chaos that unfolded. So we had the incident out of turn 1 into turn 2. Then you can see further up ahead, that looks like you had Ostrachars there, and one car just spun into another. It caused a massive domino effect, and before you know it, drivers are having to duck and weave left and right to get out of harm's way. Just about staying out of trouble. We check on board with a couple of these other drivers. That's going to be the Lexus, getting a little bit brave heading into the corkscrew. Peeking for a shot. The Bourne is also a driver further ahead who we will have to keep an eye on. But Lindblom has managed to get about a second away from Grosges at this stage. They've managed to weaponize the chaos underneath them to break toe, which is a big deal in their race. So we'll check towards the bottom. We can see that Dave Marsh has managed to recover himself, but he has certainly got a massive margin ahead of him. That is going to be Anthony Herbert into the pit, though. First driver to do so in this session. Which, considering the amount of chaos that we saw in the opener, is a bit of a surprise. I think that is going to be a bit of a hiccup on the timer front, as everyone just suddenly jumped up and down. Not really sure why. But we will see a bit of fighting going on here. Here's going to be Peyton on Mansell. So Mansell's front aero looks to be a little bit compromised. They will not be holding on to that P32. Peyton's going to get the jump on them. Meanwhile, we're on board with Eero in the number 992 car. Hot on the heels of Peter Smith. And you can see the amount of undulation, the amount of camber, G-forces being pulled as they weave their way through the final sector of the track. So closing up quickly onto the back of the McLaren. Do they get a bit of a jump on the exit? Smith might be caught unawares. Could tee himself up into the Andretti hairpin on the inside. He aims left, looking for it, going for it, yielding off, choosing to be a little bit more collected and measured. We see a little bit of smoke puffing out. That looks like Richard Cook had a bit of an excursion off track there. Bit of dust being swapped out. And it looks like a couple of others are also going to be teasing the sand and the gravel. So we make our way now through turn 6. Probably one of the hardest corners of the circuit besides the corkscrew, of course. The race is on. And what a way to get it going. Oh, it's a little bit of a hiccup in my telemetry software, forgive me. It's experiencing a bit of technical gremlins for today. Not really sure what the cause is, but trying to get to the bottom of it simultaneously as keeping on top of the action. Many other cars now starting to find a sense of equilibrium. We have a couple of guys who have made some contact. So Kamara, Bird, Ostrachaz, they've had a little bit of an altercation. But at this point of the race, everyone is just trying to find their space. You don't want to be fighting too hard. That's the thing. Nobody really wants to be fighting. That is going to ultimately lose you time and drop you in the spots. What you really want to be doing is starting to settle, find some consistent pace, start to put those laps and the mileage in undisturbed. We'll check in with another. Ostrachaz coming up to the back of Derek Bird. Oh, looks like we had an incident. That's Damien Reed. That is Damien Reed, leader of Silver, turned around on track, turn 5. Oh no, that's turn 6, my mistake. Really struggling to get that Lexus turned around, and there's another one there. That is another one off. That's gonna be, I believe that is Peyton. Yeah, they're both coming off at turn 6. So slowly emerging back onto the course. Wild stuff. Really having the best of times. And it looks like another driver, Kevin Walker, messed up the corkscrew, went too deep, and is having to wait for the traffic to subside. We're already starting to see blue flags being waved a little bit. I'm starting to see, folks, why Laguna Seca is a bit of a polarizing track in terms of our drivers. I think it's a brilliant track in terms of entertainment and in terms of the theatre, the spectacle of the racetrack, but seeing that it comes at a cost. Hopefully it's not the driver's sanity. So all we'd really want to cost the drivers once we get on circuit is just an hour of their time to have a brilliant race. Many others challenging for a chance. These points are going to be crucial in the early days of the season, as the field spread is minimal. This is the closest you're going to have the entire field, so a good result for you is going to slingshot you in the standings, as Lenatus is going to make good work of Iro there in the number 992 Porsche. Aboard with Randy Zimmer. Zimmer has currently 12 points to their name. They did have 20, but a hefty dosage of penalty points would put them down in the order. Yeah, that's the thing you've got to be careful of as well. The penalties do deduct points from your overall. So this is where the drivers must be careful. They cannot exercise too much liberty over the track. You could end up like Chris Bourne, 12 points, but drop to 4 on penalty. You could be like Zimmer, 20 down to 12. Lenatus, 15 down to 7. And Aldhouse, from 18 points down to 2. Penalties do not mess around. Stewards and race control team take things pretty seriously, because what more do we want than to be on track and have a great race? It also means having that respectful environment, and that's something the team strives for here. So you can't be playing sillies with the drivers in the track, otherwise you will get yourself a fair bit stuck and you will run into some trouble. So Kamara is going to be pushing a little bit here. They have a chance to get a couple of positions, maybe use some of the chaos around them on track to their advantage. Ostrachaz peeling back, and Richard Cook firmly in their sights. They've got a trio of cars. That's Holmberg, closely followed by the Mustang. Well, checking in a bit further up, we have got another Wolfpack driver. This time it's the number 444 card of Nicholas Björklund. If I am pronouncing that wrong, please feel free to correct me. A solid driving from these racers, solid drivers from the field. All taking a crack at those spots, those positions, as things could get a little bit dicey. We have had an issue, though. That's Anthony Hebert, currently bottom of the order, and dropping the car in turn 3. A bit of lift-off oversteer, potentially. Who really knows? One thing we do know, though, is they have struggled to keep the car locked down. And they're currently sat P39. They've taken a pit stop at least, so they could see about running this out to the end, getting a bit of time back on strategy. But it remains to be seen. They haven't got any points on the board. I'm not sure if they attended last round, so anything is on the table. Björklund peeking for a chance at Derek Bird. E15 up for grabs. The table is open, and the drivers are hungry. I've got to say, this is pretty fine racing. Certainly more entertaining. But let's see, hopefully things calm down. Oh, saying that. That is going to be a unfortunate spin. That's going to be Nisbet. Where are they coming out? Looks like that was just coming out at turn 3, heading into turn 4. I think they're struggling with the car. You can see they're not really carrying much corner speed. Yes, the difficult thing about racing is, as we said earlier, for one to win, one has to lose. And for the drivers at the top to hold their ground, the drivers behind them have to drop. We check into the front. We can see a familiar face at the front of the standings. It's going to be Liam Blom, and he has currently got a 1:21.6 fastest lap. Now, this is pretty indicative of his pace throughout the season past and current season now. That Nismo under his helm is looking absolutely unstoppable. He's already got about 4 seconds ahead of the rest of the field and the next closest driver. And even then, Grosges in the golden adorned Bentley is going to be 6 seconds ahead of Frederick Gamer. So the racers have started to really split themselves out around this course. You got Johan Larsson and Peter Wolfslener in close proximity to one another, chasing down Frederick. The time will tell how these drivers start to roll themselves out, as we are a quarter of the way through the session. And the hunt for time is now my priority. You don't want fights. You want to get those perfect laps down. Bruce Hopkins, another driver, on the cusp of a position. This time chasing down Randy Zimmer for P18. Ferrari v Vantage. Trying to keep the balance of the car. Lean into the power maybe a little bit. See where you can find some time. Of course, these cars are subject to balance of performance, so nobody has an inherent advantage compared to another. But just because they are balanced does not mean they have zero strengths and disadvantages compared to each other. You can look to their different characteristics and utilize them effectively to gain the most time. Some drivers may be able to work well with their car to gain, say, a little bit of extra time through leaning into power sections, or the more technical rotating sections where their car fares better. Might gain that back. Looking rather rapid regardless. And good to hear that I got the pronunciation of Björkland mostly correct. We're going to just check up and down the field at this point, ladies and gentlemen, because we have found a rare sense of calm. Nobody is necessarily attacking. So I think a lot of the drivers' MO with this race tonight is just to survive. We've already seen so much chaos within the first 10 minutes. I don't blame drivers for being a bit more conservative. They can't be affording to play dicey games. Because playing scary games means sometimes winning scary prizes. We'll be fielding plenty of competition as the session matures and as the field starts their attempts at making up time. Case in point, we're on board with Peter Smith right now, and they've been under pressure pretty much constantly. I don't think they've ever had a chance to go more than half a tenth, or more than half a second, I should say, away from another car. You can see Eero hot on the heels. And certainly been nipping for that position a good while now. See, very good exit out of the corkscrew. Managed to close some of the gap, but the dirty air is going to affect their ability to keep track through the corners. Good exit, little bit more miles per. But again, not quite enough. They haven't got the nosing up alongside to make this one count. It's just the proximity. Seems to have really good corner exits, that Porsche does, but can't fully leverage it. Meanwhile, here we go, though. Really getting close, peeking to the inside. That's Eero down into the Andretti hairpin, keeping it tight, keeping it fresh. Nicely done from that Porsche right now. We do see a couple of wobbles. Oh, that's Robert Homer almost come to a complete stop on the course as they have recovered from an incident out of turn 4. Couple of wobbles around the field. These drivers really want to get those positions. I think this starts with the push phase. They found a home base. We're 20 minutes in. And this is where we start to see some of the earliest pit stops come to fruition. Keeping it gripped up. Keeping it fast. Look at everyone squabbling for spots. This one's Hamby. Teeing up Homer on the side of the Andretti hairpin. We jump to the helicopter as they've managed to catch a bit of a fight between Oldhouse and Larson. So I'd imagine Oldhouse is certainly going to get the elbows out as they have a point to prove. Now, not as much as last time because those penalties will continue to bite at them if there's any foul play. But Oldhouse is going to be fighting for those positions a lot harder than they otherwise would. So lots of points got taken away from them. That could have put them mid-pack in the championship had things gone their way. Good defense. Yeah, Larson is going to be trying their best to pressure. See, slightly peeking the nose out, cooling the car down into the corkscrew, and oh, that's a dive. That is Damien Reed. I think they outbrake themselves there. Not looking pretty at all. So that is Larson into the tyre wall, and that is Damien Reed with some serious damage. That's a painful run for them. And while it looked like an honest mistake, unfortunately, even mistakes have consequences. The Field is certainly going to be shook after that one, or shaken. So others will try to avoid the same fate. We look to Holmberg chasing Cook down in the Mustang. And a familiar sight. Dawning of drivers getting in very close. Not quite going full aggression. So this track is not one where you can fully take that aggressive stance. It's a bit too dangerous to be doing so. Alex North. On the back of Aldhouse, who continues to hold on to P29. Like their league racing career depends on it. The championship driving. They will be checking in with a few different races as this session progresses. There are many cars that are within a couple of tenths of each other, but just as soon as they get close, they fall away from each other again. So it's tough to put an exact call on where everyone is and who is going to be making movement. Some have luckily managed to get a bit of a pocket of their own of the course, and when I look to the driving of Kimura, I see that in full force. Let's be very thankful that he's not having to deal with any pressures, external or internal. We do see a car peel off the track. That's going to be blue flag there. I think that's for Rog in the number 420 Porsche. But you can see right there, just as we had Chris Bourne getting nice and close for the potential overtake, he's dropped off once again. And this time, in fact, Jimmy Engdahl is going to be the one who's putting some pressure down now. They got alongside for a brief moment. And we're starting to show their colours. Test their mettle a little bit, if you will. Holmberg still on the back of Cook. And while not having the opportunity to strike yet, we're starting to see Cook be a little bit more desperate. They were bumping over the curbs a little bit. Maybe there's a bit of nerves, a bit of pressure, and the mistakes might start creeping in. Many others like Hopkins now in the lurch, in a cycle of back and forth. Question is, who is going to be trying a bit of experimentation with the pit strategy to get around this problem? Chris Mansell is going to be one of the first on the track to go for that pit. Marsh and I believe Heber already going for them. We have had a retirement, unfortunately, so we're down to 38 cars. Things are getting spicy with the field in flux. The North and Aldhouse run close. Craig Morrison just up ahead in the McLaren. Let's check in with Engdahl as well, as Bourne has been his target for a pretty decent amount of time now. Seriously, rapid drivers all around. They can't be messing around too much. Looks like we had a issue for Dave Marsh there. They went off track. We'll see if we can check back and see exactly what happened. So into the Andretti hairpin. Looking fairly nice and tidy. Then into turn 3 now. Here we see a bit of a wobble. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Not a wobble, but a late dodge. That was not ideal in any stretch. Looked like a bit of a late run there. See what stewarding has to say about that. We'll check in with a couple of other incidents as well. So here's a bit of a replay. Not sure. Oh, it has decided the wrong one for me. So this was Nisbet apparently exiting the pits. And the game having a little bit of a freak out over the inner pit run. Apparently the technicals still have not ironed themselves out. But a couple of drivers are going to get a key chance with some racers heading into the pit lane. Many racers will be given a choice how much they want to push. We see blue flags being enacted. Rog getting quickly out of the way. We are coming up to halfway through the session, ladies and gentlemen, which means that pit stops are now going to start becoming a more regular occurrence. We've had Aldhouse and Kamara. Marsh went in earlier. Mansell, we saw. Parkinson, another driver, to have done it. Herbert and Nisbet in too. And then Derek Bird is also going to be jumping in. Let's check in with our leaders. Lindblom continues to hold the line. And oh, that is going to be Mansell sideways out of turn 6. They're going to be regaining their composure, but emerging slow into P34. Our leaders currently Lindblom, Grosges, and Gaimar, all very much spaced out from the rest of the field. Johan Larsson could be challenging within a couple of seconds. If they can push that envelope, they might be able to get it. But they are going to run out of time to do so unless they pick up the pace. See, there's going to be Chris Bourne heading into the pit, so that fight is going to be nullified. We have Derek Bird also coming out of the pits now, so they're going to be emerging potentially in a little bit of traffic because there is Damien Reed just a bit behind. They'll have to get their car up to that operating window as well, so they can't quite push full tilt just yet. You already see a little bit of snap, a little bit of wiggliness. Got more pit lane entries as well. We have Cook, we have Bourne, we have Björklund. A couple of cars whose deltas are running fairly low. So not quite having the best of times. We jump on board the perspective of leader of bronze. Now, for Thompson's position, this is nothing short of brilliant, because Zimmer is splitting him from his rival in class, Hopkins. And Wilson is splitting from them for Gabbert. So they really only have one true competitor at this stage of the competition. We have many more drivers now heading into the pits. So Cook was in, Lenatus is in, Björklund, Hamby, Bourne, I think, just made their way out. We have Wilson, Cutler, and Engdahl heading in. McNair heading in. Everyone is making their choices with the pit lane. They're sweeping and swinging for it. And with the halfway mark having passed, there's not really a better time. Push as much as one can. See if you can make up time with the field displaced. Everyone's going to have a little bit of a gap and a little bit of work to do. Saw a brief moment there on my data, and oh, there has been a brief moment. Peter Smith going a little bit too far on the outside is going to head into the pit regardless. Though, I doubt they would have wanted to lose that much time in pursuit of those refuels, and I assume new tyres. You see, there's a lot of drivers merging into the course at the same time. This could get a little bit dicey, but the space is to be left by the other cars. They peel to the outside. This is McNair rejoining. Just up ahead of Chris Bourne. Ostrachaz is going to be a bit further away as well. See many racers now closing in as more head into the pits. Larson, Holmberg, Hermé all now jumping to the pit side. And amidst all of this, a lot of the leaders remain steadfast. They remain strong. And they have yet to yield or show a real mistake of any kind. It is what makes them the leaders after all. They show their strength. And they can wield it consistently. Lap in, lap out. Race and race again. That's what makes your leaders. So, meanwhile, though, we have had an issue. That's Kevin Walker, again, in the corkscrew, having an issue. They not got quite the tight handle on the corkscrew as one might think. It is deceptively difficult to get that corner right. You can have so many unpredictable behaviours. The suspension could kick out and throw a fit. You have to be dialed in for that corner to make it all work in your favour. A couple of jumps in the field, lending themselves to pit swaps. See, that is going to be one of the Ferraris. I believe that is a couple of others coming out. So it's Kevin Walker going out behind Damien Reed. Damien Reed currently out in P17, but yet to stop in. Means they will, of course, drop back down after the fact. Many others now having gone through. Almost everyone has jumped into the pit lane. You can see a swathe of cars going through. That's Gayamar, there's Hopkins. That's North, Payton also on their way out. Only a few cars remain. Damien Reed, one of the last drivers as mentioned. But we also have John Gabbett, who is sat in P9. They are now going to make that commitment to the pit lane. Bruce Hopkins has jumped in, leaving just Carl Thompson and current race leader David Lindblom. Even their rival Grosges has gone in. Maybe they might want to think about doing it soon. Picking your timings is pretty essential to making the pit strategy overtakes work. Get out in a bit of your own traffic, or your own air, rather than traffic. You will be served well. Fail to do so, and things will be swiftly addressed and dealt with. But there's going to be Justin Cutler on the hunt for position. These two duking it out now. A little bit of a attacking form on the turn 6. Looks like Chris Bourne's even getting involved as well, picking the nose in with the two Nismos, duking it out. That's them hot on the chase right there. Wielding their speed. Just keeping an eye on these two for the moment, to be honest, everybody, because it is sometimes about watching the race as it unfolds. We have plenty of racing to discuss and to view, but that looks like a sideways car. That's going to be Nisbet, sadly struggling out of T6. And many other cars also having their own issues. This is just coming out of turn 10, it looks like. Cabot now making their way out of the pit lane. Peter Smith, seemingly what had an altercation. And then finally, our current leader, Liam Blom, heads into the pits. Now, the question is where they will come out. Looks like we have got Herbert with... Oh, there we go. No, they are moving. They are moving. Okay. I was getting pretty concerned for a second there whether we had genuinely lost them on the course. But there you go. Whipping the car around. Getting ready to re-enter. Enter on the outside of the hairpin. Minimize your interaction with traffic if at all possible. And that is how you do a safe rejoin of the circuit. They've got a trio here. Zimmer, Björklund and Hopkins. Have some good old-fashioned fun on the racetrack. Looks like we have a couple of chops and changes as well. That's Aero, who is outbraking themselves, actually. Chris Wilson managing to get the switchback pretty easily. Porsche outbraked itself on track and paid dearly for the mistake. Let's see, some drivers have some really big gains relative to the start of the field. Seriously impressive. I mean, I'm looking at some big gains here. We've got, of course, as we were saying before, winners and losers. We're down to 37 cars as well, folks. We had another retirement, unfortunately. Things have not gone well for some. But looking to the field, some drivers have stayed the same. Lindblom, Grosges, Hermé, they've all remained in their starting positions. You've had some drivers who've dropped a lot. Holmberg down from P6 into P24 from the start of the session. But you also have some big gains. Iro, who we're on board with, has been an absolute weapon. They have jumped up 19, but looks like they have had a bit of an issue on the corkscrew, so make that 16. Come on, Iro, get back up on your feet. Get that car back up and moving. Make sure that you are safe when you are doing so, but you've got to get that car back out there. A couple of other racers now showing their colours. Leonardus as well. Another big, another positive story. Has only gained up a few positions, so started P20 into P17, but has been really fighting for it. And actually, considering everything, they got involved in that early scuffle. So they got involved in that early scuffle with all of the contact, all of the cars, and they got dropped pretty much down to the bottom. And then they fought their way back up. So a lot of drivers were involved with that, but Leonardus has actually done quite well, I think, in making the most of it, as some others have done similarly. Hopkins up from P26 into 14, so they gained a lot over the course of this race distance. And everybody has taken a pit stop at this stage, so I do have to say they all did it faster than I expected. I really did think that we would see some drivers do a splash and dash in the last 10 minutes. Oh, that's dicey. That's a weird spot, Niesbet. Not where you want to be on the course. You turned around, got to make sure you're out of the way of the other cars. Oh, that made me very nervous. I was really worried that they were going to reverse onto a driver's racing line. But no, it looks like they've got a bit of clearance here. Oh, smacking into the wall. Just waiting for that chance to get back out there. There seems to be no middle ground here at Laguna Seca. You either have a race to remember, or you have a race to forget. There is no middle, it seems. with this course. Don't think anyone is going to be too happy. They still got 18 minutes left to go, but for what it's worth, it has been mightily entertaining on this side of the field. On this side of the fence, anyway, Laguna Seca has not disappointed. I imagine for the drivers, it has been a, we'll call it, difficult experience. With so much carnage, it really has thrown this championship out of whack. It's completely jumbled up this order. We've got Aldhouse, who is RTPing. And looks like they bowed out in a pretty awkward place, just coming out of the start-finish line. Say the Audi R8 does make quite the gnarly noise. Let me know what you think, by the way, folks, about the idea of... Oh, actually, hold that thought. We have got Björklund, who is off track on turn 9 into turn 10. Serious departure from the course. Luckily managing to find a pocket for themselves and re-emerge into P18, but really not sure what happened there. Looks like they did get a bit of an attack on with a couple of the other cars, and I saw a brief pop up a flag, but not really sure what to make of it. Many racers still yet to really go for the fighting. This drive is a brutal one. As eloquently said in chat. Oh, looks like that's Mansell off. Chris Mansell and Peter Smith having an altercation. So let's see exactly what happened here. So we're taking it on board from Mansell's perspective. Looking on board with the helicopter. Heading into the corkscrew now. Turn 7, a little bit of the kink. Turn 8. Decent run through. Looks like a bit of a better exit there for Mansell. The tree's not really... And oh, looks like it just caught the rear bumper. One tried to turn to the left. Swung in and caught them on the right. Annoyingly, the helicopter didn't really get a chance to catch everything. So we've got Damien Reed just waiting for a rejoin spot as others continue their soldiering forward. All of the drivers are really giving it their all just to be on the finish line. Trying to think of the words that I wanted to put across there, but really, drivers are just looking to make it home now. They don't really want to overdo it. It's got to say, it's good to see, despite so many people's races having taken an interesting turn, that we still got some positivity, seeing everyone in the live chat right now. Always love to see that positivity, and that positivity will continue to be a driver. Some fun racing to be had in the rest of the season, definitely. Which this race has effectively set us up for. So we'll certainly be experimenting a bit more with the camera angles, so I might be using more of the POV shots. And as well as that, folks, been toying with the idea of a pop-up segment during the race where we reduce the UI and just switch to a little speaker that just says live engine audio or live audio. And it's just a couple of minutes just to listen to the cars and watch the drivers race without me yabbering on. Let us know what you think of that idea, because we might introduce it every so often just to vary up the experience. Try a little experiment. As things start to mellow out, the field is looking of calm constitution. Nobody is fighting per se. The only real chaos on track is that of mistakes and that of drivers making. Seen a lot of drivers who are taking a couple of excursions off the track, some of which aren't necessarily making it back in good time. But the hunt will still be on for positions where they can be gained. Okay, Hamby, that's an example, on the back of Wilson and Marsh. I'd say let the two fight ahead of him. Let those two deal with the heavy lifting, and then Hamby can sweep in vulture style. Sweep in for a chance at the last minute to gain a spot, but saying that, looks like Marsh has done it for him and has gone way too wide. Amp the inside car sound. Oh, I can certainly do that. And with the way these cars sound, I'd love to. We will definitely be playing around with that. Don't you worry, folks. The field is very much at large. And with the timing starting to come to a close, let's take a bit of a roundup of all of our different classes of racers. So in the first spot who we're on board with now, Lindblom, in a familiar sight, let's be honest with ourselves, has held the lead of this session and of qualifying. They really have proven themselves to be a talent to be reckoned with. So Maximilian will be coming in with a second position, about 8 seconds away. And Gaimar 17 seconds adrift, just coming into the corkscrew now. Goes to show that sometimes even tenths of difference across a lap can add up very, very quickly into some major deficits or gains. We look as well to Cook, who is currently leading for their silver group, and Ostrachaz, who is currently in second. Lenatus in third, closely followed by Randy Zimmer. And then Hopkins. Hopkins is in the bronze and has got quite a substantial difference against Carl Thompson. About 15 seconds, in fact. You see, just coming through turn 3, where Hopkins is already coming up to turn 5. And a couple of other cars making their way through. North is going to be your third honorary in the case of bronze. And your field has found equilibrium. couple of cars have started to draw closer together. Pepper on the back of Rog. Could get a chance here. There are some who have quite a substantial gap. They're not really going to be making up. We have seen a couple of racers like Nisbet who have dropped down a couple of laps by this point. Just owing to the issues that they've been seeing on track. Looks like we had Glenn Parkinson with a brief off, trying to get out of the way of other cars. Now seeking opportunity. Blue flags being waved around pretty much constantly at this point, as so many areas of the field start to mingle. Got drivers on completely different laps sharing the track space. We have 6 drivers and counting on lap 37. We have about 15 on lap 36. And then another few on lap 35, with some on lap 34. Nisbet being the lowest down on lap 32. Cutler and Bourne have been getting pretty close, and that's allowed Colin to chase down. Seeking those positions in the dying moments of the race. It's gonna be tight and it's gonna be close. They really do know how to draw it to the wire, these guys. And I commend them for it. Here we are with Cutler on Hunt. Let's jump directly in his eye line and see what he's experiencing firsthand. Oh, here we go. He's still pushing. He could be in a little bit of trouble. Well, someone else is in a bit of trouble, though, as the helicopter has really had a freak out. That's going to be 2 cars collected in all of this. It's Randy Zimmer and another Ferrari. I think that was Kevin Walker. Yes, it was. Hamby, Thompson, all having altercations. Looks like Thompson himself is struggling with Hermé. Oh, Hermé. Hermé's had an issue. They have dropped the car out of turn 9. They're going to be slowly rolling through, barely able to hang on to P6. They dropped from Engdahl at last moments. And it's a pretty big hiccup. Mighty rapid. Last chances. So 4 minutes 10 means we've got about 3 laps left on the clock. As we see fights continue to brew and to rage. Something's happened there. That's Alex North. I think they peeled out of the way. And then we had a bit of an issue. So we are down now to 33 cars, folks. So the 39 starters, 33 are on the course of making it to the end. So 6 retirees. Unfortunate. But sometimes is the way of racing. Looking real fast and fancy. Chris Bourne on the hunt. Oh, looks like we have got Glenn Parkinson, who is around, and then a couple of other drivers who certainly been fighting and dicing. So Wolfslander, who we typically see towards the front of the grid, is down currently in P13. And he is fighting to keep things going. Glenn Parkinson now rejoining the track. Going to be coming up in close proximity with the 141 car. That's going to be Randy Zimmer. And Björklund just behind. So James Payton was also within proximity there too. Oh, looks like there's a little bit of wobble there. That's going to be Derek Bird. Close, but not quite there. But soon we will get the final curtain call. Björklund, Holmberg, Zimmer, Larson, Gaimar, Grosges, and Lindblom. All seeking that opportunity. Really impressive racing from everyone on this course. So there's the familiar Audi dicing his way through. There you go, you hear the confirmation over the radio. That is the leader now starting on their final lap. So we have certainly had a leader in all of this. And they have had, once again, a very dominant race out here. So, of course, there are highs, there are lows. We had a little bit of concern that they wouldn't quite make it towards the top step. That they were having a rare lapse in form. But it does not seem to be the case. As we see McNair quickly going off the side. And through the corkscrew, coming up to finish the session. One driver stands tall amongst them. Final couple of corners for David Lindblom. Another immaculate race from the Nismo. And up to the line here. Lindblom takes top honours. As they cross the line, the leader has finished the race. And that is where we draw it. Grosges is going to be in a close second, about 6 seconds adrift, but still really putting in the work to make this one possible. Then you have Frederick game up with a quiet but a impressive race nonetheless. Kept their nose down, got what they needed to do done, and that is where we call things. So into third is going to be Gaimar, completing your podium for gold. Closely following that, we have a few more cars who are still making their way around, but this will be their final lap also. As many more are now completing. And we've got the last few cars who are dashing their way round. So we will soon see Hermate, Bourne, Cutler, McNair all across the line. And then coming up to the end of it, it is Richard Cook. It is the winner of silver. And then Ostrachar's leaving a little bit of a gap with another car between them, but not too far behind whatsoever. Very nicely done. And then Lenatus takes third, and you can see his celebration. Brilliant stuff there. Excellent racing from everybody out on track. Hopkins is going to take your lead for the bronze and take the win for bronze class here out tonight. And Thompson is going to be a not too distant second, about 15 seconds away. We have Alex North into our third. And then finally, to look at the racers who did not quite make it home, we had Niesbet, who was about 5 laps behind. Mansell, Reed, Morrison, Aldhouse, Kimara, and Larson all bowing out of this one. But certainly have been showing their stuff. And it's Laguna Seca, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be honest with ourselves. Laguna Seca is a race that is the Marmite of the calendar, I'd say. You either love it or you hate it. You can't really get the win, and you can't do both always. But a massive thank you to everyone who has joined us this evening. It's been a great pleasure, as always, to broadcast over these. And with that being said, the championship is going to start heating up. We've had a bit of a jumble. We've had a bit of a shake around. And we mentioned it before in terms of the variation and in terms of the interesting side of our tracks. But next time, we're going to be heading to Mount Panorama. That's right, we're heading down under, we're heading to Oz, and we are going to be taking our first week break of the season. So you'll be joining us not on the 28th of January, but you'll be joining us on the 4th of February for round 3 of this championship. My name has been Ben Sapsford, aka Sappytron, and I will see you all folks very soon. But thank you as always for joining us. Keep it here at SimSeniors. If you want to see more action, subscribe to the YouTube channel, of course, and get involved with a bit of love on the stream if you did enjoy what we do. We'll take it easy from here. Have a very good night to you all, and we'll see you next time. Good night.